How you doing? I'm Al with No Reflection Technical Institute, and we're about to pre-trip the engine component. Let's go. Okay, first thing we're going to pre-trip is the front of your truck. And remember to let the lady know or he know what you're doing, how you're doing it, and perform it, because they don't read minds. So for instance, I'm going to start at the front, at the top. My clearance lights are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware. They're amber in color and they work properly. Please let them know that all lights works properly. Come down to my headlights. My headlights are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware. They're clear and they aim towards me. My turn signals are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware. They're amber in color and they work properly. Now, some trucks aren't equipped with fog lights, but this truck is equipped with fog lights, so please explain. My fog lights are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware, and they work properly. Now, registration. Some states require it, Missouri does, so we're going to perform the registration. My registration is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, it's not missing any hardware, it's up to date, and underneath the vehicle, there's no hanging wires, there's no leaks such as oil, coolant, or fuel. And they also want to know if the truck is leaning from side to side. The truck is not leaning from side to side, that would indicate a flat tire or suspension issues. Now let's do the up under the hood. Remember, when popping your hood, making sure that you always say clear. Clear. Now, coming to the engine components, when you're pre-tripping, you want to always start on the passenger side, then move around to the driver's side. Follow. Show you guys a couple tricks and trades I learned throughout the years. If your coolant reservoir is not on this side, 9 times out of 10, your alternator will be. And the reason for that is because they're not going to have a coolant reservoir mounted on that side with a water hose running way on this side. It's going to cause issues and you might have a leak. So wherever you see your coolant reservoir, your water pump is right beneath that. Remember that, guys. So my alternator is properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. It is belt driven. My alternator wires are properly mounted and secured with no bare wires showing. The belt itself is properly mounted and secure. It's not worn, torn, or frayed, and has no more than 3/4 of an inch play. Now, although my coolant reservoir is on that side, I'm going to perform my radiator hoses on this side. So I'm going to say my radiator hoses, don't ever point at any hoses, because you might accidentally point at the wrong one. Just say my radiator hoses are properly mounted and secured. The metal part has no cracks. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. The rubber has no abrasion, bulges, or cuts. There's no visible leaks, and there's no missing hardware. Let's go on the other side. Back to what I was saying about the coolant reservoir. Here's your coolant reservoir. Here's that hose that I was talking about coming right to your water pump, guys. All right, remember that. My coolant reservoir is properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. Has a cap. There's no visible leaks, and it's filled to the proper level between add and full. The coolant reservoir hose coming to the water pump is properly mounted and secure with no abrasion, bulges, or cuts. No visible leaks, and no missing hardware. Any rubber hose that has liquid coming through it or air coming through it, liquid, you can't have no visible leaks air, you can't have any audible air leaks. Remember that. Real quick, guys, I'm going to go over this water pump with you. Come on up. The water pump is belt driven. It's properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware, and it has no visible leaks. The belt is properly mounted and secured. It's not worn, torn, or frayed. It has no more than 3/4 of an inch play. Now, tell you a little trick I learned. Anything that you can reach out and touch yourself, 9 times out of 10 is going to be belt driven. Anything that you can't touch, I learned, is probably gear driven. All right. So my oil fill is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware, and it has a cap with no visible leaks. My oil check is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. And how I would check, I will bring it out, wipe it clean, reinsert, bring it back out, make sure it's between the add and full. Now back here is the air compressor. It is gear driven, because I can't reach back there and touch it or change it myself, so I know it's gear driven. So my gear driven air compressor is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. There's no audible air leaks. The main air line is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's no audible air leaks with no abrasion, bulges, or cuts. Now, behind this frame, I have a gear driven power steering pump. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware with no visible leaks. Now I'm gonna come back out. We're gonna do the steering shaft. Remember to always let the examiner know that there's no excessive play. The steering shaft is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. The U joints at the bottom and the top is also properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware, and it's free from debris. Coming down to my power steering reservoir. The power steering reservoir is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, or not missing any hardware. The cap is on tight. It's filled between hot and cold. My power steering reservoir hoses, both of them, is properly mounted and secured with no abrasion, bulges, or cuts. No missing hardware with no visible leaks. If you can see this right here, this line is coming into your power steering gearbox, and this one's coming to the power steering pump. So you know that this is your power steering pump coming into your gearbox. This is where you got power steering issues, because if that pump went out or there's a clog. My steering gearbox is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. It does have oil in it, so there's no visible leaks. My spring mount is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. My spring leaf is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. It's not shifted. The U-bolts are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, or missing any hardware, and they're held in place with nuts and bolts at the bottom, and it's sitting on what we call a saddle. That's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. This is a oil-filled shock absorber, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware with no visible leaks. Now, you can come back up. If you forget some things, you can always go back and catch it. Still give you points for it. So if you get back here and you're like, oh, I forgot something, come back up here and get it. She has to give you that. He or she has to give you that point. All right. So my frame on both sides, front to back, is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no legal holes or wells, no missing hardware, and this frame is designed to twist. My pitman arm, drag link, upper and lower control arm, and tire rod are all properly mounted and secure. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. They're not missing any hardware. They're held in place with castle nuts at the bottom of the pitman arm, and castle nuts at the top of the control arm, and a castle nut at the bottom of the control arm. Now, these 4 items, the pitman arm, drag link, upper and lower control arm, and tire rod, are the only things that you can run together on this side of your vehicle, okay? Brake system. Guys, remember, perform your brake system thoroughly. The brake system is an automatic fail if you do not perform it correctly. All right, brake line is properly mounted and secure with no abrasion, bulges, or cuts, no audible air leaks, no missing hardware. The ABS line is properly mounted and secure with no bare wires showing. Brake chamber It's properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. It has a clamp, and there's no audible air leaks. This particular front tire is not equipped with push rod and slack adjusters, so I just have brake pads and rotors. So my brake pads are properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware, and there's no less than 1/4 of an inch thickness. The rotor itself is properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware, and everything is free from grease and debris. Tire assembly. I know it gets a little tongue twisting. I know it might sound a lot, but the tire is pretty easy. So the tire on all 3 sides is properly mounted and secure. There's no abrasion, boulders, or cuts because it's rubber and it has air in it. The tread are worn evenly. The tread depth on these tires should be no less than 432 seconds of tread depth, and these tires cannot be rethreaded or recapped. The tire is filled to the proper level, whatever it says on the side of the tire. I would check that with a tire gauge at the tire stem. It's properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. Has a cap with no audible air leaks. There's no space between my tire and my rim that would indicate a flat. My rim itself is properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware, no legal holes or wells. The lug nuts itself are properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. They're all present. A loose lug nut would indicate rust streaks or metal shavings from a cross thread. This inner hub is properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. It's filled to the proper level with no visible leaks. I see a lot of people taking this cap out. Please don't take that cap out because it will leak out oil. All right, and that completes the motor side of the inspection.